Everybody, welcome back into Mining Stock Daily. A little bit of a quiet day here on the podcast, but we are going to get in a corporate update that is a long time coming here. We are hearing from Doug Cavey from Defiance Silver. Defiance Silver continues to trade on the Venture Exchange with DEF and on the OTCQX with DNCVF. Doug, welcome back to the podcast, you stranger. How you been?
Good, Trevor. Thank you very much. Actually just got in from Mexico last night and back into Vancouver, a bit smokier than when I had last been here a couple months ago. But yeah, it's been really good. Pretty quiet summer. I think everybody's sort of feeling that across the sector, but it's been good to play catch up. And of course, you know, the results keep coming in for us. And we did, as you say, put out some news earlier this year, but it's been pretty quiet for us on the you know, marketing and interviews front. So it's good to kick off the fall season with our good friends on the Mining Stock Daily.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you to say. But let's kind of jump into it. Listen, you did put out drill results earlier this summer. I mean, we're talking a couple of months ago. You hit the widest silver intercept to date at the Veta Grande, at Veta Grande there at the project. 41 meters of 157.3 grams per ton silver. That included just under 16 meters of 379 grams per ton silver. You know, and this was a while ago here. I'm not quite sure how much you want to kind of dive into it, but obviously a meaningful intercept for the project. What has been happening since these results have been published to the market?
So, okay. Lots has been happening on site. We did wrap up that drill program. You know, the day escapes me. It was mid-May or so. So we did, you know, have results or assays coming in until just recently. So it's starting to pile up. So we got to digest those and eventually get those into the market as well. We're still waiting on a couple check samples and things to come back in on the QA/QC front. As well, we did a big program of relogging. We talked about that a while ago. Those assays are starting to come back in too, so you can expect some news coming back on that. And I guess the big scope has been, and we've always been talking about this, is what is our understanding of the synthesis of the deposit? Why are there shoots? Why is there silver mining that happened historically where it did? Why are these shoots where they are? What are the controls on mineralization? And then begin to test them. That's been our thesis the whole time. And what you're seeing on this set of results, and of course what's coming through with the relogging, and then of course the next set of results when we get those back in, is we're starting to really understand why these shoots are here and what the principal controls of mineralization are, and we can tag them pretty good. And as you can see, we can hit some pretty spectacular grades. You know, it was up to 5.5 kilos silver in that long interval there, but they're all wide, like it's mineralized throughout. And what we're doing is taking that knowledge and then applying it to the historical drill holes. So let's say in 2014, and this is, you know, not that long ago, 9-10 years ago, going back to those old drill holes and saying, okay, it's a pretty clandestine looking mineralization. Like it shows up, but you have to really have a key into it. Like it's in this unit, it's when you hit these faults, it's sort of where we can model it, particularly that model is really important. And then going back and then doing that historical relogging and saying, hey, okay, look at this. This thing actually bulked out quite a bit. And when you go back and maybe assay above and below, or what you can see, maybe this is looking like a much wider system. It may be amenable to a different type of mining method, whereas, you know, historically just, you know, vein chasing or, you know, basically just, you know, following these narrow high grade veins where they were pulling out what that last drill hole was, that 5 kilogram material, which of course is just run of mill material. Going and applying that model and then looking at all of the historical data and then putting it back in, all in the purpose of bulking up the resource estimate that we currently have. So when you do a resource estimate, of course, you have to use your underground mining costs, you have to use your shipping costs and what your processing costs are. But that underground mining cost is very important. And then what does that mean? Was it going to be a narrow high grade miner? Can you actually look at this thing like a long haul stope? Can you look at a different type of mining method that captures, you know, these wide intervals and 50 meters of 150 grams silver when, you know, the area is mining 80 grams silver underground is showing you that you do have quite a large volume of mineralization. And then understanding the control of that mineralization, can we hit that in multiple places? So we've done a good job of updating the model. And then so the next set of, you know, what we've been doing is applying that knowledge to the historical drilling. And then what, you know, the current drilling that we're getting the results back, how does that fit into the current model? All to build up the resource estimate, all to plan future drilling. And then we've also had a big program up in the Pánuco North property. So we had the results last year from the Palenque property, which was that new discovery in the central part of the district. We've had a team aggressively working the northern part of the district, which is called Pánuco, the Aurora and La Gloria trends. That is, historically one of Pan American's really sort of top greenfields exploration properties in their portfolio in Mexico, particularly in the mid 80s and mid 90s. That for working that up as a drill target as well, and we really like what we're seeing there.
Okay, so it seems like there's a lot of desktop work being done and really narrowing down some really precise uh, locations for an upcoming drill program here. I mean, is that, and you mentioned the resource estimate here. So what is the kind of a timeline? What needs to be done for that updated resource estimate for the project?
So I wouldn't say that it's all desktop work. Actually, I would say that the
Okay.
bulk of it is operational work within the district in the camp. So we have two facilities in Zacatecas. One's kind of our principal core logging facility. One's more of like a backup core logging where we do the historical core logging. And we have two field teams working right now in the district itself. One is a kind of a core mapping team. One's going and doing more actually almost environmental work right now and sort of safety work, just cleaning up all the old trenches, old shafts, just fencing things. So we do have a pretty active program of boots on the ground, but then we have a full team working on the drill core, and then we have a modeling component as well. Our resource estimate, as we always say, we're going to pull the trigger when we see that 50 million silver equivalent on the Veta Grande. This is again just in the Veta Grande. This doesn't count Palenque. This doesn't count in the north as well, because we do believe this is a district. There's going to be multiple systems that have multiple resources that'll all look at it a global resource. But as soon as we see that number, we're going to pull the trigger. So we're doing some modeling. We continue to model. Of course, we're just getting these results in right now, so we're a bit ahead of the gun. We're getting the historical results in, and then we'll make a decision. Do we do another drill program, or do we put the resource estimate together? It's going to be hard to sort of put a date on that. We're getting
Sure.
closer and closer as we get these results, and of course, as you see, these wider, higher grade intervals are putting ounces on the book.
Okay. Do you have pending assay results out that have yet to been published to the market?
Yes, we
Yes.
have a full set of about a year of historical drill core reassay that should be out pretty soon. We're working on getting some news together on that, and then we have 6 holes from the most recent drill I think it's 6. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that exact number. From the most recent drill campaign, and that again is the remaining 6 from the previous news release, which was the highest grade drilling that we've done on the property. That falls on the back of 3 years of work. So we're quite excited about those. Visually, they look great. Who knows what the assays are going to say, and we're still getting those things back in as well. So we do have a pretty good news flow of drilling information upcoming. As well, we have some news coming out. We're waiting on decisions on Paul. We're waiting on decisions from, what we're going to do with our upcoming drill program in the fall as well. We have some property payments that should provide some news flow as well. We have one remaining payment on San Acacio and one remaining payment on the Lucita property for 100% ownership on both of those. So it's a pretty news heavy flow for us in the fall. Unfortunately, the market isn't really rewarding good results. All things considered, we put out one of
Sure.
the best drill holes in the company history, and the stock has remained flat since then. So can't really fight the tide.
Well, and I think one of the things I wanted to make sure that I conveyed in this conversation with you, Doug, is that, you have mentioned to me just through, conversation that this is some of the best core you have ever seen. And you're pretty seasoned you've seen a lot of core in your career. So obviously that holds some merit, but it also is very interesting because, Defiance Silver is well cashed up, and it seems like you're not eager to go out and spend all that cash right away, knowing where the market is. But maybe talk about, how conservative are you being with your exploration work with the cash you have in hand, given the market that we're working with right now?
We're trying to be as conservative as possible. We're reviewing just about every single contract, right down to the $10 subscription agreements for various online providers for whatever you have at various Slack accounts, Slack user memberships, just things that are you can preserve that capital. And I think it's not so much to save $10; it's more to kind of to just get the company focused in that way. Do we need to spend this money? Do we need to spend this money now? The market is not rewarding drilling. It's very clear. Anybody who's putting out drill results is not being rewarded. We have some of our colleagues that are drilling world-class discoveries, and it's just not. It's just completely flat. And if the value trader is not there, the value trader is not there. We need that generalist value trader to see the value in the market for that value trend to go up. And if they haven't shown up, they may show up. We don't know. We can't predict when they're going to show up. Then we're just putting news out to a dead market. So we have looked at that scenario. We do have an obligation to our shareholders to update that resource estimate. So at some point, we may need to pull the trigger to put some new holes into the property just to get it to a more confirmed area. But we are looking at that. Do we postpone drilling? Do we postpone this and that? If we continue to put out world-class results, I mean, these are some of the best results that have come out of Mexico in the last 12 months on a silver system. Do we, and nothing, we had, we traded up 7.5%, we traded up 10% the next day, and then we were back down flat in 3 days. So do we continue to drill and have the market, not reward us for anything, even though it is building value in the long term in beefing up that resource? Or do we just sit back and say, hey, let's preserve this capital? We have obligations when it comes to actual commercial terms that we have commitments to in our property payments. So those we can't really do too much about. Of course, there is the idea that we could go and raise money, but we're not really keen at that prices. Of course, there isn't really a market to raise money either, so it could just be falling on deaf ears. But capital preservation, again, just going through with a fine-tooth comb. What can we cut out? What can we cut out? And we've been doing that consistently for the last over 18 months. I mean, we've seen that this market has been deteriorating for quite some time. And our G&A expenditures are some of the lowest in the industry. Our exploration expenditures, when it comes to direct spends, we've cut what we can cut, and we still are delivering these results. So I think we're just going to continue to do that. Keep looking, keep having that philosophical, okay, does it need to spend this $10? Do you need to spend this $15? Do we need to spend this $30? Like, whether or not that $30 is going to make a decision, it's that mental, that mentality in the company to say, hey, like, what is this expenditure doing to help the company in the next 12 months?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, what about the opportunities? I mean, with this market, with a bad market, there are opportunities for those people willing to see them and jump on them. What kind of opportunities is Defiance Silver seeing out there? Is there some M&A activity? Is there just full acquisition activity for projects in Mexico that maybe have not seen any work done? What is that silver lining, Doug?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of silver in that lining. Yeah,
No
when
pun
we're
intended.
active. We're looking at properties. We're looking at what we can do. We're looking at, does it fit in the portfolio? It's got to be the right fit for us as well. We can't get too distracted. We do have 2 flagship assets. We're waiting on a decision from Topal. We're quite confident with that. That process has to take its course. We expect to have some information about, and not a definitive decision, but we expect to have some information about the timeline on Topal in the next month. We'll hope. It is in the hands of the court system, so we can't rush it. But we are looking at something, but it's got to fit in that pipeline of, it's got to fit that something that we can add value to the way that we work. It's not going to be like, okay, let's acquire this project that's already advanced, that already has all this detailed engineering, because we need to step back to the drawing board and say, hey, this is how you're going to actually level up the asset. And that's what we've done with everything that we've worked on so far. That's what we've clearly demonstrated with San Acacio. That's what we've clearly demonstrated with Lucita. That's what we've shown. We hope we can demonstrate with Topal once we get the work going on the ground in that asset. And so we have been quite active. We've been going on property visits. We've been looking at new properties all over the place. And we've seen some stuff that does look interesting, but the price has got to be right. And we can't really put our shareholders in a compromising position to make an acquisition that isn't going to actually get any value in the market. And it's hard to really justify those kinds of acquisitions right now. But as you know, the opportunity is right now, and then you do see that pay off over a long period of time. It's just, can we stomach that in the short term right now with the market that we're in, with the sort of appreciation, with the sort of sentiment in the sector, with the sentiment in the jurisdiction, and really with our team that we have, can we not overload them with work? Because right now we're delivering on all fronts in San Acacio.
All right, Doug, let's leave it at that. Appreciate your time. Thanks so much for the update. I think it was much needed, because we just wanted to hear what the latest is from San Acacio, and also in general from the entire company. We'll be talking once again, it sounds like quite a bit this fall, as the news flow, it sounds like, will be ticking up. So thanks so much for your time. Be safe down there, and also safe back home there in Vancouver.
Yeah, I got a couple more days here and then back down to site, and we'll update. I'll send you some photos, Trev. Maybe you can throw them up on onto your feed there, some of our core photos as we were talking about, because it's pretty spectacular stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to. All right, that's your update from Defiance Silver, everybody. Again, trading on the Venture Exchange with DEF.